Welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
Okay, and some amazing kicking and power down there on the start.
Well, look at this. We've got Graves back on the front, just going over the top of Ferry. We're 42.6k. Popovic leading. Safrazad in second place. Here we're going to watch who's going to come up with 600, trying to roll in. These tunnels are steep in between. You can just see this next kicker is coming. Said Safrazad and Pablo Popovic up at the front. They have 1,400, less than 1,400 metres to go. We are at 600 metres to go. Safrazad on the front. Emma, come on, bring these riders home.
They are neck and neck taking this corner as they go around and sweep to the left. The road drops down in front of them as Popovic pushes really hard at 15 watts per kilo as he pushes up the climb. And I think Popovic is going to take this from Safrazad as he comes through.
So hello and welcome, assalamu alaikum, to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. My name's Matt Payne. I'm going to be bringing you all of the race action. And today I'm without my co-host Emma Martin, not around with me today. So I'm going to be flying solo for Qualifier race number 1, 4th of September, of course. And we're looking for some great action. Our finals last week didn't disappoint with a great race finish. So make sure you go back and watch those on the YouTube channel. We have a cracking course. I'm really looking forward to seeing our men's race here on the Australia Wollongong circuit, the Wollongong route one, which of course is going to be well known to everybody because it is our world's route this year as well for the World's Road Championships. But today, of course, Sunday Race Club qualifier number 1, 3 laps of the 16k, approximately 16k circuit, and we do a almost 99% of the circuit to kick it off with, and then we have repeats, including that final climb. We'll bring you more of that in a moment. Don't forget, of course, we have our teams riding. So the UAE clan team, all-conquering UAE clan team, not up at the top always, but almost, and certainly last week in the final, doing an amazing job with Pablo Popovic, Said Safrazad, Mr. X100, and SS doing the business for them. But watch out for the Pavlova team. They were there, Vink, Knudsen, Jones, all inside that top 10. Belgian Waffles, of course. Well, we had Vajasin in 3rd place last week. Van Eist in 8th with the 3rd team. Hubbard's moving up from category 2 to join in the fun up at the top category. And we do have 1 or 2 other riders in there who are down as individuals as well. So we have category 2 teams, a nice mix of teams, and a huge stack of riders. So in category 2, there are 70 riders in total, 12 teams. Pick of those teams, Dango Reality team. You've got Team B and the Investing Columbia team, as well as Renegades DS team and the Chasers Cycling team. Don't forget, of course, we've got Team Italy B in the mix as well. In the finals, they were 3rd place. The Climbers team, they were 2nd last time out in the finals. And, of course, we do have our riders from the SZ Sandcats in category 2, but they didn't remember to put their team name down on the entries. And a quick plea, guys, make sure you put your team name down when you do enter so that we can put you down as a team. If you don't put it in, we don't know whether they've just fallen out and you're all having a bad day or whether you want to be in the mix. So a quick reminder, guys, remember, make sure you put your team name in when you enter. So category 2 riders, big teams, big numbers, 70 riders in total in category 2. In category 3, we've got 21 riders and 3 key teams here. The CM team, the UAE Road Warriors, and Team Strikers, all of which are going to play a real big role in that category 3 because having their teammates around you, having somebody to ride with is absolutely key when you're racing on a virtual platform because it means you can get draft, you can get assistance on the way through. A lot of our teams are talking to each other. Will it be the Strikers team of Morris, Bill, Jason, Bellard, and Lamb? No, will it, of course, be the UAE Road Warriors or the CM team who are going to take top honours? So, of course, again, you saw it briefly previously, 45k, 700 meters, so not as hilly as we always get, but there's some steep gradients. As you can see, each of those 4th category climbs that come in, well, they're 2.4k long. They average 4.5%, but as you can see, there's a big downhill in the middle of that climb, and that means that the steeper sections are going to be steep indeed. If you've been out and ridden on this on MyWhoosh, you'll know exactly what we're talking about, because this is not an easy climb. And we do it 3 times, and we finish with a summit top finish as well at 45k. Going to test our riders. It is definitely going to make sure that they're challenged on the way through. And the question will be, are we going to see an early breakaway go? Are we going to see riders waiting a little bit longer? We've seen some very aggressive riding at the front of the racing in all of our categories, and I think this course is definitely going to test the riders. And of course, Australia routes, all part of the new Australia World that's been released on MyWhoosh. Make sure you jump on to www.mywhoosh.com, download the app, make sure you get lined up, and if you want to have a go, make sure you go on to events and look at all the details of what to do to jump on. Now, just watching Carl Tiselius, the member of the SZ Sandcats team last time around in category number 2, and Carl, very, very quick rider. The whole of the SZ, of course, this is our Swedish zealots, the riders who are out and racing, and we see them in action. I've had the pleasure of riding with them a number of times in group rides, and I've got to say that they're very quick and they're very, very friendly, but I think that friendliness is not necessarily going to translate to the racing when, of course, our riders are racing here. Don't forget, of course, all our qualifiers, top 5 riders get prizes in each of our categories. So everything to fight for as the clock ticks down. Fast start essential here. Qualifier number 1 underway, and riders very quickly off from the start. Arago going off quickly. Good to see Alexei going quickly, but Mr. X100 with a very fast start here today. He was an absolute workhorse for the team captain of the UAE clan team, already moving his way up onto the front. So P1 already, but you can see a big bunch of riders here in Wollongong for the first of our qualifiers. And remember, qualifier until the last of the month, which is our final, which includes our prize money for our teams as well as our individuals. And don't forget, of course, all of those results up on www.mywhoosh.com. So here on Sunday, our race club, our riders away, big pack moving clear. And we can just see top right-hand side of the screen on that map. There's a few gaps opening and reforming as this group comes together, but the big mass of riders is up at the front. And we're seeing quite a lot of our Category 2 riders in there already. But this is where you've got to be really quick on the reactions off from the gun. You've got to move into position really, really fast. It's a big bunch once again on our qualifiers here today. 134 riders down to start, 96 starters when we set off. So a number of people not making it to the start line. First hurdle fallen, which means that, of course, it gives a little bit more of a chance for everybody else. As you can see, our riders heading out now. Saeed Safrazad in the UAE clan team. Our next rider that we just managing to pick on as we go over the elevated roadway here in Wollongong and out on to the elevated bridge. Just hops us across onto the little island. Then we come back in and across once again. And the shoreline here, absolutely stunning. And that is replicated here. You can just see a little bit of a rise coming in now. So we're going to do this little kicker that takes us up in towards town. This is where putting the power on is going to shed a few riders out of this group. We're starting to see more and more pack form behind. Interesting to see Sebastian Wolf right in the mix. He's right up here in Category 2. Nicholas Spratt has moved his way up here. Spratt, another of those fast riders that we've seen. Another of the SZ Sandcats. The Swedish riders coming here, Strength in Death and Jonas in as well. So good to see these riders continue to push. And we've got back with us Jason Osborne. Now, for those of you who've maybe been missing in action for a few weeks, if not a few months, because time does fly, Jason's been one of our regular riders on MyWhoosh. He's a rider that we know can take victory at this. An Olympic medalist in rowing, a keen cyclist from the year dot, but more importantly, a professional cyclist now, a rider who between squads, between moving from Koenig across to Alpecin, has been a regular on the squad and somebody who I would not discount on the way through. And great to see that we've got Jason Osborne on. He's riding for the Danish Pavlova squad, his long-term squad, but the rider, the professional rider, back with us again. So great to have him back. One rider who knows exactly what he can do is Ollie Jones, a teammate on the Danish Pavlova squad. There on the left-hand side of your screen. Ollie Jones, another regular winner, not maybe on the form that we expected as we came in to the finals. Ollie taking 7th place in the finals. The team are taking 2nd place overall with Ollie Jones. But the categories behind all are racing to try and stay in touch. But that slight rise has really shed a lot of our Category 2 riders. Good to see Marcelo Hennig still in the mix here. Tom Gates sitting in with the leaders on the right-hand side of your screen. See our 3rd category riders on these roller coasters that run along the side. So roller coaster, basically a big dipper, drops down, raises up, drops down, raises up. Carrying momentum and pace is key. They're on that 5% descent, just good leveling out on the right-hand side. The leaders on the left and onto our big screen. Well, they are currently on to the rise. Once again, good to see we've got Jonas Bjerrehead in here, Michael Fink in the mix. Just watching these riders come through. Still a good mix of 2nd category riders in there. Still a few people making the way in there. Marvin Angarita in there. So it looks like Marvin's managed to make that cut and is still holding on. Andres Gutierrez in there. Ryan Giuliano as well in the mix. So these riders continuing to push. Remember this, the Sunday Race Club on MyWhoosh. 45k in total, the first 3k. Absolutely critical here because that is when we see this bunch formed and we're already seeing our leading group up the road. Now we're riding in at the moment with, I think this is going to be group number 2 as we just drop back to our leaders, and that gap has opened up for sure, going about 600 meters if my math is correct. So at the moment the leaders continue to push on here. Vujasin in here, Ferry in here as well. Bart van den Eyck out in the mix. It looks like Christian Maglio in there for a 2nd category rider. A regular up at the front, and Maglio part of that Team Italy B, who are regular team winners. They were 3rd in the finals last week. The question is, are they going to be able to continue to push up? Are they going to take advantage of sitting in? Or where's the first cat now? A little bit of a push on the front. Mitch Ferry starting to stretch his legs. He's opened a little bit of a gap. He rolled through, and it looks like he's starting to pull. And you can see that bunch behind. Great camera shot here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Gives us a real indication of that mix of riders as they come up this slope. And you can see Ferry just on the front continuing to push. But it's a big bunch of riders up there. And these riders are continuing to kick. So you can see by the profile, top right-hand side, lots of gradients, lots of climbs, lots of kicks. Nothing too severe. 700 meters in total throughout the duration of the race. But this very much reminds me of a lot of the World Championship courses. I've been lucky enough to ride on a few and commentate on a lot more. And definitely where you get that very little chance to rest. It's constantly rolling, constantly kicking. It doesn't allow you much time to do recovery. You've got to do it, take it on a little downhill before the next big kicker. And you can just see the damage that's done as you go over the top. If you're not in the pack, you get distance, the gap opens up. So important to be right on the front. And this constant attacking and this constant changing gradient certainly doesn't suit all the riders. You look at that gradient at the moment, we're just heading at 7% now, going up and climbing still. That is tough stuff, and that is definitely going to be doing damage. We watch John Allen Mendes just chase onto the back of this group. It's still a big group of riders. We're still talking in the region of about 30 riders in the pack. So 30 riders at the front of the race after our initial riders, just under 100 riders taking the start and setting off well over that in terms of entries, 134 entries into qualifier number 1. Our riders are looking to qualify for those finals. It's 2 qualifying rides to count. So you have to have 2 verified rides. And to get a verified ride, I'll jump on to the website for all of the details. But don't forget, of course, you can always have a listen back to our previous coverage. As I've said just at the start of the show, no Emma with us today, so we're going to be deprived of her stats and statistics. Fortunately, she's done a fair few notes already for me for some of the climbs and so on. But Emma not able to be with us today, but it does mean it gives you another excuse to go back and watch it last week's and get a good idea. In there, Emma explains a lot about what we can do in terms of verification, how you need to make sure that you get yourself set up to ride. And don't forget, you can always get in touch with Emma on at Biking Emma on Facebook and on Twitter. Full Speed Events as well. That's on Instagram and Facebook, and of course myself at Matt Fixer Paint. That is on MyWhoosh on Facebook as well as on Strava. That's a weird and wonderful thing that happens every now and then when I actually do get let out of the studio. So we're here on Sunday Race Club. We are, of course, watching the qualifier number 1. We're at 6K. And interesting here that Mr. X100 just dropping to the back of the race here. He's got John Allen Mendes with him, and John just started to fight at the back of the group. I think Mr. X100 just taking a little bit of a breather. He quickly pushed back into that group. Now, right-hand side of your screen, interesting that Santiago is having to do a chase on back on. We do see this. People don't get a great start, get distance, don't get off that line quickly enough, and you can be in trouble very, very fast. We are 6.5K in, and you can soon lose distance. Now, John Beardsworth in here. Good to have John joining us on the Sunday Race Club. John, at the moment, heart rate 166, 167. Nice revs, though. Pedal cadence of 97. And really interesting, if you look at Mauricio Lopez, along with John, very similar pedaling cadence on there. Very similar pace in terms of speed. But, of course, John on the climb. Mauricio currently on that slight descent as they come through, but John Beardsworth looking very strong at the moment, sat in there, 166 beats per minute, heart rate a lot higher than Maurizio's, 135 on the right of your screen, 137 and climbing. So Mauricio Lopez continuing to push into that group at the very front. Looks like Mitch Ferry starting to wind up on the front again. Jason Osborne very attentive here. We've got Johan in the mix in here. Not surprised to see Johan in the group as they come up this climb, but Mr. X100 and the UAE clan team patrolling this out. We do talk about the UAE clan team a lot, and that's because it's such a dominant team. They have been so strong, race after race after race, ride after ride, and what we find is that's because they work as a team. They've got 4 very strong individual riders, led, of course, by Mr. X100. And when we do our notes, so generally working through who's done what in the results, got a big database of riders that the team at Full Speed Events are populated from that race results on MyWhoosh. And that database, one team that you can guarantee we're going to have to put lots of data in for is the UAE clan team, because they are really dominant, but they get pushed. Danish Pavlova, they won all the way through the qualifiers that they rode, and then were second in the finals. You've got to watch out for the Yorkshire Pudding Express. The next PB insured. Team SZ is strong when they're riding. The Belgian Waffle Squad, of course, almost always in the top 3. Ferry on the front at the moment for the Yorkshire Pudding Express. Absolutely continuing to be aggressive on the front of this race. This could well be a course that's going to suit him. Mitch, one of those regular riders who we see on the front, putting an attack, then resting, then attack and resting. And this course should suit him much more, I think, than the flatter course with a climb just at the end. Ferry on the front of the race, 3.6 watts per kilo, so just easing off a little bit as they go up and over the top. Take this left-hand turn. And at the moment, the race all about being able to stay in with our leading pack as they come around this turn and taking the long line up here. So that's a little bit of a climb, at least you're into a shallow descent. It basically drops, then rises once again. And don't forget, as we are making our way along, we are at 8.4K. Not too long before we hit the start of the climb proper. That's at 9.5. 9.5 will then see us rise, drop, and then rise again to the summit. It's a 2.4K climb. So it basically takes us all the way up to just shy of 11K. And then there's a slight drop and rise just after the finish as well, which could well split people if they're not in together with the group. So leaders on the left heading towards the fourth category climb for the first time. The chasers behind, well, you can see the distance just in with Paolo Cusimato. At the moment, 7K covered for Paolo. So Paolo just in that group, real mix of riders in there. So some first, some second, and some third category riders all mixed in together at just over 7K. Right-hand side of the screen, Jason Osborne up near the front on the left-hand side of the screen here. And will it be Osborne's day today? I'm sure the pro rider from the Alpecin squad will want to be right up in the mix. He's been riding strongly in the stage races. Been watching his performances in that. It's been great to see him in action, translating the form that he showed so many times on MyWhoosh into form out on the road, mixing up the disciplines on his way across, and certainly a very talented competitor, and of course an Olympic medalist as well. So into the climb we go. We're hitting the 9.5k marker. Will take us up onto the climb, fourth category climb. As you can see on your screens, 108 meters of ascent, 2.4k, and that average gradient, well, that is very deceptive because it includes quite a long section of downhill midway through. That's going to do two things. That's going to basically mean that the steep sections are even steeper. And of course, that the riders, when they go into that, then have to be able to translate the speed and power across. Now, here we go, 9.8k rolling on to the climb at the moment, and 3%. So it's that steady rise up at the moment as they make the way along. We're now at 5.5 and continuing to tick on 6.8. The gradient increases. How many riders are going to stay here? I think if we look behind our riders, there's going to be a trail of bodies behind, and you can just see the back of the pack here. Tom Gates is fighting his way back in. Mistakes 100 is in attendance. The riders are across the road. Great riding here by Carl Teselius. Carl really is pushing on here and staying in with this group. He's not the only second cat rider in there, but certainly at the moment, this course not having pushed him to the limits and taken him out of the back of the group. But this group spread across both lanes of the road here in Wollongong. 9.8% the gradient on this kicker. But remember, we have a dip and a climb again, and that is going to be telling on these riders as they continue onwards. So here we go. Osborne continues to push 167 beats a minute, 84 revs, ticking around that 450 watt marker. You can see the chasers behind, just in with Burke Gavin at the moment. Burke at 9.8k, so just about to hit the base of the steep section. It's already rising. You can see that on the screen. It's 2.5%. Meanwhile, the leaders left-hand side into this descent, and this is where the splits will occur in the group if they're not careful. They go over the top. It will open up. They've got to now use this momentum, use this pace as they come down. It's going to kick again. So here we go. They're going to have the next kick in, and this is where they get the first view in racing here today of the final. Don't forget, of course, you can come out and you can ride the Wollongong circuit on MyWhoosh. Just download the app on to your iPhone. Don't forget, of course, you can download now for PC on a Windows-based machine, and of course onto a Mac as well. So lots of ways to do it. There are some minimum specs on there, and that's just simply because we want to bring you the best experience when you are riding, and bring you the full reality and brutality that is 17.2%, now 17.5, 17.7. We said it was going to get steep. This is going to really bite. Remember, our riders have to have a minimum of 50% turbo trainer difficulty on there. So effectively, that means that's going to clamp down. It's going to make life really, really hard. And we are seeing these riders really are pushing on at the front. Look at the bodies all over the road. And you can just see, with it being a 17% slope, the riders really are having to work. It's got a massively high heart rate, 194 beats a minute from Michael Knudsen. And I think Knudsen is wanting to break this group up. Knudsen riding for the Danish Pavlova squad, 6th last time in our finals. He's certainly looking strong at the moment, and he's got the group split apart. If you look top right hand side of the map behind our leaders, it is like dot to dot. There is a single dot, then a single dot as riders are distanced out. We came into this climb with just over 25 riders in that group. I think we're going to be lucky to see 20 riders together as we go up on the climb, continuing 9.5% here as we go up and look at them. They're in ones and twos behind. SS in trouble at the moment, just a little bit further down. The lead with, I think, is going to be Vink up at the front with Jasin, not far off the pace at the moment. And all these riders really are going to have to continue to close the gap down. So in with Vink, continuing to push at the moment. That pack is directly behind him. They're going to come very, very quickly. Still 9.5%, 10%. You can just see the course climbing. We've got a right-hand turn coming up at the top. And that is when, remember, we have a slight dip and rise again. And that is going to break those little bit of energy you've got left is going to disappear. But the riders coming up to the top of this climb for the first time. I'm going to take this right-hand turn here. So just sweeping around, not a little turn into the estate. This is the swing around the 90-degree bend. It's a long sweep here as Mr. X100 pushes on over the top and continues to kick in and through. So through he goes into this little descent, and you can see this slight kicker on the other side. This is about maintaining momentum here. Mr. X100 right off the rev, 60 revs a minute, now kicks in as he comes into the center of the dip. And you can see the pack coming behind. They've got the draft advantage. They're going to go kicking up over the top. They do, and now into the descent proper, 13% descent, and quickly up to speed. 76, 78, 80 kph. She's going to be, yep, we're ticking over that. So this is going to be a quick descent, and Osborne, wanting to make the most of this descent, continues to push. That heart rate, though, dropping at the moment, so the rider's resting as they come down. A little bit of a ramp on the descent down as well. And really, it's downhill pretty much all the way to the 16k marker from here. So the top of that summit we've just gone over is going to be our finish line. We've got 2 more ascents to do. So a full lap effectively from where we are right the way around. And then once again coming around to finish at the very top of the hill, the third time up that big climb. I'm sure the riders are going to be wondering just how hard that's going to be by the time they hit it for the third time around. So here on Sunday, a race club with me, Matt Payne, bringing you all of the action on MyWhoosh. We have our qualifier number 1 at the moment. Remember, our riders with 2 qualifying rides to make it into the prize money final. Each of our qualifying rides, well, they have prize money for the top 5 riders in each of our categories 1, 2, and 3. And those dynamic categories designed to give the best racing for everybody so that the riders always have somebody around them to race. Interesting to see Ryan Giuliano at the moment, just ticking along, 164 beats per minute, 82 revs per minute, just alongside Dexter Abello at the moment in that second category competition, and Abello alongside him there certainly looks to be pushing on well. So the climbers rider nicely tucked in there, and got his teammate alongside him. It's good to see Moises Balthazar just up the road as well. They're on that climb. They're just about to come to the top of the steepest section. They've got that little dip and rise on the other side. That's on the right hand side of your screen. Left hand side, 14.2k. Saeed Safrazad, the rider who was taking second place in the finals last time around, just nicely tucked in here. So strength in depth for the UAE clan team here. So Safrazad tucked in, SS Pablo Popovic got Mr. X100 in this group. It's not whittled right down. Hoping our camera's going to make us get in front and take a little bit of a look back, see just how much damage has been done. I remember the early stages of this race, we quickly saw a group of 30 riders formed. It was brought down to just around about 25 coming into the base of the climb. We quickly shed riders over the climb that time around. Another kick going, I think that's Ollie Jones. I've just seen go down the road there. So it looks to me like about 7.5 watts per kilo. It looks like SS quickly trying to respond to this. But certainly looks to me it is Ollie Jones who's gone down that road. He's gone on the attack, and we're only on the flat section at the moment. So stretching his legs out here. So it's Jones on the front, sporting a very nice beard here today, and of course the casket, the white cap on his head being chased here, and you can just see it's going to be Vink, I think, who's going to be on his heels. So Vink without the helmet goes over the top of Jones. Next little kicker after this spiral round the bridge and onto the top. It's a real nasty part of the course, this, with that spiral section. And it's a little climb to go up over the railway line and then drop down the other side to split this group. And there's going to either need to be a very quick reform or we are going to see a breakaway go. Vink is not one to hang around. He's not one to wait. And now as we take a little bit of a look back, you can see that we're going to be on about 13 riders at the moment in that group together. So SS in there, Popovic, Martins, I think Osborne in there, Said Safrazad, Jason Osborne, Lionel Vujasin, Johan in here from the Swedish squad. So that's going to be Johan Noren in there. So good to see Johan's made it, the rider in there from Sweden. A number of Swedish riders making it, including Jonas Bjarhed. So Jonas in the group as well. And the SZ squad regulars on the scene have been around riding on turbo trailers for a long time. Great to see them in action here on MyWhoosh. So left-hand side, race lead. In category 1, right-hand side, just riding in with Joseph Kaluma, just squeezing those pedals going up the climb, but they're giving ground to the riders on the front. Jones leading the ride at the moment. You can just see that Jones has got company, but at the moment that is going to be really interesting as they try and squeeze going onwards from here now. Jason Osborne working hard in the mix here, 156 beats a minute. So we're definitely pushing quite hard, but it is still dropping, so he can't be really stretching his legs too much. We go underneath the banner. So it is, in theory, 3 laps to go. Technically, it's 2.8 of a lap. Don't ask me to do maths. It's a very dangerous thing. The riders will go through that finishing line once more because they're going to be going up on to the climb. So as they go out underneath there, we have 2 more ascents of the mountain to go. And that is the essential thing for our riders to remember. So Alexei Kalman in that chasing group, they're 26 seconds down on the leading group, which is now down to 13 riders. So glad at least I can count to 13. That's a bonus. Anyone who says it's because I'm from Yorkshire's got they're going to have some trouble. But at the moment, certainly see our riders continuing to squeeze on. SS now starting to just stretch his legs here. Knudsen and Vink quickly across the road to follow him here. SS, another of our really strong riders and regular on the MyWhoosh's ride. Mr. X100 going across to join his teammate Pablo Popovic, Jason Osborne, Johan Noren, as well as Martin Martins, very quickly responding to that. So the big group not wanting to let anybody go at this stage. We're at 17.5 kilometres of our 45k here on MyWhoosh. Ollie Jones just sitting a little bit further back at the moment, not doing too much work to close these 3 down. Remember, of course, on MyWhoosh, you've got that feel, that real feel that sitting in the wheels gives you. You're hiding out of the way, making sure that you're not doing too much effort. And it's often the riders who we don't see on the front who are going to be the ones who we're going to see racing into a victory. And lucky enough to put the words to the action to the UCI XCE, and that is definitely one of those events. We just had some events at altitude in Ladakh in India and in the Himalayas. They're at 3,500 meters. And I won't give you any spoilers in case you're going to jump on the City Mountain Bike YouTube to have a watch of that. But it's very telling. They might only be traveling the equivalent of 1,000 meters in total rather than 45,000 meters that we got on MyWhoosh, but that altitude definitely takes effect. So you can see the riders who waited, who are smart and rode smart, whether it's a short distance race like that or whether it's our longer races like an hour plus on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. riding smart, absolutely critical for these guys. Vink is one of those riders who doesn't just ride smart, he also is an aggressive rider. So he really doesn't just, he's not passive, he doesn't sit down and let the race go by. He often will be animating the race to make it work how he wants to ride. And sometimes, if you are on your limit, it's actually easy just to go on the offensive, to go on the attack and just try and make everybody else ride at your pace rather than you riding at theirs. So that could well be a tactic we're going to see employed on the run into the climb. Much harder to do that on the big climb, but the rider's already well in to the second run in. So remember, our rider's setting off with that bumpy road. The very rarely any flat on the way into the first time of that fourth category climb. We've dropped down out of the category climb, across and through, and we're heading back out once again. 3.5% at the moment as we come around, taking this right-hand turn. And remember, we see plenty of slopes, really steep, as we run in towards the climbs. A little bit further back, just taking a look at Mauricio Lopez. So Lopez at 61, 61st position. But as you can see from our course map, our riders completing the first climb, dropping down, going through the line. They're now in that bumpy section between 16k and 26k, where lots of riders will find it hard to be in there, where the aggressive riders can really push. But then we go in to the big climb. Second time up the climb starting at 26.1k. The final time up that climb at 42.6 to finish at 45k. Not at the downhill run into the finish, and this means that a climber could well profit if the rest of the group tow them in there. So leaders at 19.7k, chasing behind big groups all the way out around the circuit. All right, hand side of your screen, the riders still continue to chase, but giving ground on our screens. Now they're in with Martin Martins, the German rider, continuing to push here, and Martin's continuing to ride well in this group at the moment. So Martin's currently in that group, the rider, a regular for the Belgian Waffle squad, and Martin's doing a good ride at the moment, just nicely tucked in with this group. So Martin's last big result, last top 10 was at the end in the finals at the end of June. So looking to get a good ride in here for the Belgian Waffle squad. We'll find that he puts in 2 good rides before he goes in to the finish into the finals at the end of the month. And Martin's at the moment 149 beats, 150 beats per minute, just rolling away around this long drag that's going to come up in a minute. Just rolls along, and then it starts to kick up towards the end, just going to take its toll on those riders again, just using energy on the way through. So at the moment, our race leaders in there, we're riding in with SS at the moment. So Mr. X100 leading them up the climb. Behind, you can see the squad all out across the road there, just using both lanes on this climb. 3.3%, and ascending here 3.4, 3.5, 3.6. It continues to go upwards. Mr. X100 at 6.5 watts per kilo. I think deciding it was time to stretch his legs. Let's see what everybody else has got in the tank. Let's see whether they can respond to this over the top of the climb. And you can just see clearly, having ridden the Wollongong circuit on the MyWhoosh, you can go out and ride all of the routes, jump on to the platform and get out and riding, get the race practice in. And it is key to know where to push, where to rest. And certainly at the moment, Mr. X100 looking good as he comes diving down. It's quickly going to turn from a descent into an ascent, and we're going to see the gradient kick in. Another steep climb here already, over 6% the gradient. Vink again up onto the front. Vink is regularly pushing his way up here, and certainly looking very, very strong indeed. Jasin right up there, Johan Noren in there, SS Knudsen, all rolling around the front, all making sure that they don't lose position. So Vink goes over the top into the descent to 2.6% on the descent, 21.8k K under the wheels. Justin tucked back into this group, not letting those gaps go, and the racing here on MyWhoosh, really a great realistic platform to race on, because it gives you just that real feel. It doesn't have feel good factor built into it. It's not gamified. It is a great training platform, and lots more training platforms and programs being launched, including a dedicated triathlon training program on there as well. The team who are looking after the training programs, absolutely world-class coaches. And if you want to see what they've been up to, then make sure you jump onto the mywhoosh.com website. Don't forget, of course, to give us a follow. That is on Instagram and Facebook, MyWhoosh, and my_whoosh on Twitter, and catch up with all of the latest news, not just of course from MyWhoosh, but also from the teams that MyWhoosh are involved in sponsoring, including the UAE men's and women's teams. And great to see some real aggressive riding. Rider know well, Sophie Wright riding for the women's UAE team, really aggressive out and making the racing happen at the moment on tour. And great to see her getting the support of the UAE team out there. And of course, the UAE team looked after by MyWhoosh, so great to see them in action. So, Mr. X100, the head of the UAE clan team, their road captain at the moment, just sat in that group. Sat tucked in, got Vink and Jones in there. Popovic is still in there. Said Safrazad in there. Looks like Van den Eek out in the group. Van Eest in there. But a rider who I think has been in trouble, I think it's Jonas Bjarhed. So I think Bjarhed now distanced. And I think the nearest chase is about 45 seconds down on our leading group. So in to town we come once again. It's course-based over in Wollongong, and lots more routes and courses coming on MyWhoosh. We're expanding all the time as the routes, with the courses, with the types of terrain that you'll find out there, and that translates for you as much more fun in riding, and for me too. I quite enjoy my time on MyWhoosh when I'm out and riding it. I have to admit, I'm usually not fast enough to enjoy it too much. I'm usually suffering, trying to hang on to somebody far quicker than me. But one of the big beauties of MyWhoosh is always somebody to ride with the bot rides, the Battle of the Bot rides, the My Bunch rides, as well as the Whoosh's rides. Lots of company, and great to see so many riders joining us on the Sunday Race Club. Our leaders on the Sunday Race Club on your screens at the moment, headed up at the moment. This pack, well, they are leading us out at the moment. 13 riders in control of this race, a real who's who of the Sunday Race Club, rejoined by Jason Osborne. He's definitely going to be a rider they're going to be watching, a rider who's capable of performing at World Tour level. And nice to see him back in with us here on MyWhoosh, and his absent team definitely giving him lots of support, and great to see that the riders are using MyWhoosh and the training platforms to get that speed and that edge at the very top of our sport here. So MyWhoosh supporting our riders, getting not just financial support for the race teams and looking after the riders, of course, prize money in the qualifiers and in our prize money final for our teams. Who's going to be taking it away here today? A little bit of a lull in the action in the front of the race, and that is only because you can see these riders are really just regrouping, waiting for the next climb, which comes now. Behind, really interesting to see right inside of your screen, you've got Mitch Ferry in here, Jonas Bjarhed, Alexei Kalman. They're chasing, but that gap really has opened up to them. Not riders I'd expect to get distance at this stage, but already happening. So at the moment, 13 riders leading. Ollie Jones in the mix, who we're riding with at the moment. A rider who we know could be right at the front. He's taken plenty of wins before. He's going to be able to do that again here today. Not sure it's a course that suits Ollie, but may well be his day on this course. May well be just biding his time. Usually a rider we don't see out of the front too soon. So here on Sunday Race Club, the initial lumpy, bumpy roller coaster course here that is Wollongong, the New Australia route. is doing damage from our initial big pack with a huge sign up of riders. Very quickly, we came down to 30 riders in that leading group as we hit the base of the fourth category climb for the first time. That was brought down to sub 20. We got down to 13 on the subsequent rows. They stayed together as a group of 13 as we go over the 25-kilometer marker, heading in towards that fourth category climb for the second of 3 ascents. This leading group have distanced the riders behind by some margin. The nearest chasers still first category riders, but really everybody struggling to stay with the pace of this select group on the front. The chasers behind, well, that is Mitch Ferry in there. He's got Calvin in with him. He's also got Bjarhead. They are trying to keep the gap down to a minimum, but I don't think they're going to get back in touch with our leaders at this stage, because once your distance, you got a big pack up in front of the distance on the course. It's 400 meters between our leading group and our chasers, our 3 chasers behind, and 400 meters may not sound very much, but when you're trying to close down a gap, it might as well be 10,000 meters, because it's just so hard to close out the distance between you and the riders in front. So 26k covered. Remember, 26k means that we are now about to start that climbing, and we're going to start heading up on to the fourth category climb for the second time. This climb, you can see in front of it, we have the climb, we have the drop, and then we have the climb again to the summit, a little dip and kick afterwards before the main descent. However, the leaders now starting to make the way on. You can see it rising up in front of them. On the left of your screen, the chasers behind continues to push, currently sitting at 300 meters down. They're trying to close that gap down, but the leaders now at 3.5% and climbing very quickly. So we're going to see our leaders well onto this hill. The chasers behind only a few hundred meters, but it is going to be enough, I think, for them not to get back. It's going to take a real superhuman effort to be able to get back on to this leading pack. They can actually see them. So the riders on the right of the screen can see the riders that you see on the main screen now. This is Van Es. We're just taking a little bit of a look back. The chasers are just down in the dip. They're not going to get back onto the heels of these riders, but we're now onto that climb. This is the second ascent. We're pushing up here. So 26 points. Okay, you can just see that climb continues upwards. It's a long way up this hill. We've got a dip in the middle of it, and that makes life even harder still. It's going to break up the rhythm. It's going to make it even harder to make sure that those legs are spinning well. So onto the climb, they go 9% at the moment, 9.5%. And this is a big, tough gradient. You can just see those heart rates starting to go up. Van Est holding 171 beats per minute. The revs are right down from Van Est at 66 revs per minute. He's going to want to rocket that up as he goes over the top. Nussen, well, he's rolling about 87, 88 revs per minute behind. It looks like Bjarhead, Kalman, and Ferry still trying to close that gap down, but Ferry leading them in pursuit. But I don't think they're going to get back on. As you now see them opening up, this is a drop down that comes before the main part of the climb. Remember, this is a climb very much of 2 parts. It's about a third climbing to start off with. We then big drop down almost to the level we started to. We then kick again, and we're now coming into that second steep phase of the climb. So here we go. You can just see that road running up in front of our riders, the chasers. Well, they're just over the top of the first section. Ferry, Kalman, and Bjarhead. Ferry just start winding out to get back onto the wheels of Kalman and Bjarhead in front. So the Dane and the Swede in front are being chased at the moment by Mitch. Ferry just goes over the top of them up on to that turn. He'll take that left-hand turn in front of you. You'll be able to see the rows on the left of your screen all spread all over the road. They're on that 17% section, and this is a brutal climb. Remember, the climb averages 4.5%. However, that is so deceptive because the downhill means that the uphill sections are even steeper still to hit that percentage, and they are steep, 17%. It's just starting to ease now, but nobody's ever going to describe 10% as being easy. So over the top they go. Are we going to shed any more riders from our group of 13 riders who stayed together after this climb last time round? Leaders on the left of your screen, chasers on the right. So here on Sunday, a race club, a second time up the fourth category climb here today. Continuing to push up here. You can just see these roller coaster sections. We've been over the main summit. And your riders are dipping and climbing. They've really have got to push here. They know that they can't afford to let the gaps go. Mr. X100 in this group. So ring around the back. Remember, 13 riders in total in the front group as they came through. That's all that could survive with the pace of our leaders last time around. Is it going to be the same? Well, we're just going to watch them kick up to the top. So the map top right-hand side, when they come up and take the right-hand turn, they're going to be working the way on the dip and kick at the very top of the map profile, of our course profile. Mr. X100 continuing to chase here because he's right on the back of the pack. Is he going to just move his way through? He won't want to be on the back as they go into the descent. That may well be not a matter of choice. Here we go. This is where it gets tricky. So you've got to stay with this pace. You've got to really push on as you go over the top of the climb. The leaders, you can see already starting to wind up the pace at the very front of the race. These riders have got to continue to kick to push to get back in touch. And we are now into that dip and kick. So this is the descent. This is about carrying that momentum and pushing up the other side. Just seeing SS up at the front, just opening a little bit of a gap. We saw Mr. X100 do this last time through here, but then get closed down. You can just see that the riders are rolling through that momentum. Carrying that pace is critical over there. I think the riders just finessing that so that they can make sure that they get that right in subsequent races, but they are now on the big descent for the last time. They come down this descent, they will roll through the town, through the lap line, and be up onto the big climb to finish, and they're going to be finishing up the climb at the top of the main climb on the last lap, so they won't have this descent again. At this, it looks to me like there's just a little bit of a chance here for people to push on, because you're just seeing a gap starting to open between our leaders and the back of this pack. Going to see if that continues to open up. So we currently have 6 riders clear at the front of the race. They've opened up a fractional gap, and there's 1 or 2 big names caught napping behind here. I think they're going to have to come back, but at the moment it looks to me like Johan Noren just pushing on with Popovic for Jasin. It's the X100 in the mix. Meanwhile, Mitch Ferry and co over the top. Ferry, Kalman, Van den Eekhout. Looks like they are a little bit spread as they go over the top. The nearest chasers to our leaders, who are on the left of your screen, 30k covered. Remember this race, 45 kilometers long. So here on Sunday Race Club, we've just gone over that 30k mark. We've crested the summit of the 4th category climb for the 2nd time and are now into the main descent down. And this will take us down to that 32.7 marker. Our man on the green bike there, indicating what would normally be a lap on the circuit. We then have our final run into the big climb to follow. Our race leaders on your screen: Michael Fink, SS, Johan Noren, Pablo Popovic, Jason Osborne, Mr. X100, Said Safrazad, Lionel Vajasim, Michael Knudsen, all in the mix at the moment. Martin's in there as well. These group, this lead group, fracturing, reforming, refracturing, reforming, as we go over this brutal world style course. And certainly is testing our riders at the moment. Ollie Jones, Michael Fink, Stefan Van Ace really is a who's who. A little bit further back, Mitch Ferry, who was on the attack early on, just being distanced. He's got Kalman and Bjarhed around, who's got Van den Eek out not that far behind. And I think Christian Maglio is going to be our leading 2nd category rider, as we see an attack on the front now from Mr. X100. He's got a little bit of a run up. He's got a loop to do. So we've got a full ascent. So you can just see the loop coming up on the map. As he goes around that and onto the climb, this little blip will take him up onto the road that's overhead at the moment. And I think he's just positioned himself to give himself a little bit of a kick here and really put the pressure on those people behind. 6.8, now 7 watts per kilo, 7.2. He continues to kick on 7.4. But look at this. SS is quickly on this as well. So 2 of the clan team being chased by Vajassin, chased by Knudsen. Over the top they go. So that slight little kicker, it is a tough little, so as you go over the top, it definitely gives those riders who are feeling strong with some sprint left in there, some opportunities, I think, on the way round. I think maybe we're going to see in later races, if we're back into a Wollongong again, that people start to use these smaller trigger points, these smaller attack points, more and more as people learn the routes, learn exactly how to attack, how to go clear on the front. So Knudsen at the moment, who we're riding with, 174 beats a minute, revving around at just over the 90 mark, 92 rest per minute left to side of your screen. Ferry chasing, well, currently at 1 kilometre behind, 157 beats a minute, 74 revs a minute, but not able to answer the pace of our leading group at the moment. So I think Stefan van Est, pretty much the last rider in this contingent of riders, making the way up and along. Chases behind Ferry and Co. just on that little climb on that spiral section of road where it sweeps around to go up over the top of the roadway. But at the moment, it is a Mr. X100 who is riding in towards that gantry line. It's a lap line on the Australia World. We cross it, don't believe the numbers that it says. We are going to be heading out for the last time. This is the last passage underneath the gantry, and we are going to be heading out towards that big climb once again. Let's see if it's got the 1 lap to go, which is what it should. So we're not actually going to come right the way down to the finish, but there we go. 1 lap to go. Mr. X100 leading them through. Had a 4-second lead. So that's a substantial lead at this stage. He's pushed on. He's tried to break clear. Looks like could be getting his own way here. Certainly the group behind not responding at the moment. He's got a gap. So Mr. X100 leading out here on MyWhoosh on the Sunday Race Club with a gap that is continuing to grow. The group behind are going to be looking at each other. None of the clan team will work here, surely. They're going to just sit back and let everybody else do the work to close down. It's kind of a no-lose situation as long as they play it smart here today on MyWhoosh on our Sunday Race Club. So Mr. X100 off the front of the race. Stefan van Eester chasing, leading that pack at the moment. Van Eester riding for the Belgian Waffle Squad. They're going to want to be right at the top of the team standings, but at the moment it's Mr. X100 who has that race lead. That gap now at 9 seconds here. Now this is a dangerous man to let go off the front of the group. It's going to be very hard to bring him back down again. I can't imagine he's going to misjudge pacing this right. A really experienced rider on MyWhoosh, and ever since I've been riding on, I've been seeing Mr. X100 SS regularly riding on our MyWhooshes, and been lucky enough to go join him on a number of occasions. At the riders at the moment, coming up to the 10k to go marker, because Mr. X100 at 34.5k. covered. Remember, this is a 45-kilometre race, and just making his way off the bridge, off the island, heading back in towards the mainland onto this little climbing section. This is going to take him up, and that gap continues to grow. So 153 beats per minute, still kicking out some substantial watts per kilo, 6.2, 6.3 watts per kilo from Mr. X100 on the front of the race on this 9.5% slope. Behind the chase, well, it's not looking very organised to me. Looks like there are riders in 1s and 2s, but nobody really getting together to have some kind of coherent chase here. And this is played into the hands of Mr. X100. He's at 14, now 15 seconds up the road. This is going to be interesting. Can they afford to leave him out there? How long can they leave him out there? I don't think that's a very wise move at all. Let's have a little bit of a look, see just how far Mr. X100 can stretch this lead out. So Mr. X100 leading the race here on the Sunday MyWhoosh show. Sunday Race Club is 35.3k. We've got less than 10k to the finish, so 6 miles or so to race finish. That is made up of two real parts here. We have our bumpy run in, and that will take us all the way to 42.6. Then we have our 2.4k final climb. It is classed as one climb, however, it really doesn't tell the story. It is two very steep sections separated by a steep descent, which really will test the riders. So our race leader, Mr. X100, leading the race out currently with about 200 meters lead on the chasers behind. Those chasers trying to close him down. At the moment, Mr. X100 still rolling just underneath that 6 watts per kilo marker. And I think we're now starting to see riders all wake up to the fact they can't afford to leave Mr. X100 out there, and just starting to push on in pursuit of our race leader here today. So will Mr. X100 be able to hold off the chasers behind? I think that's a very big ask at this stage. He's got the gap. Well, I don't think it is going to be enough. So the race continuing on with Mr. X100 left hand side of your screen, 36.4 case, 36.3 right hand side of your screen. Nothing to choose between them, but look at the riders' heart rates here. SS still looking a little more comfortable, 140 odd beats a minute, 154 for Mr. X100, and this is that chasing group. The team from the clan team, I don't think they're going to be trying to close this down with any urgency. The squad really should be just letting him go down the road. If the clan team are going to be have anything to do with it, they're going to be there interfering. And at the moment, Mr. X100 is still sitting at 7-8 seconds. Doesn't seem like much, but it could be enough coming into that final climb. So just making our way down this slope, 2.7% descent for the chasers, 1.7 ascent for Mr. X100 on the lead of the race on the left-hand side of your screen at the moment. So Mr. X100 quickly off that descent onto the next climb. This is that rolling section in town. He's got to continue to push that gap. It's still not substantially enough to take him all the way in and home, particularly on the top of the climb. Behind you can just see it is Vink, who's now pushing on once again. So Vink it is who continues to push. He's got company there. I think that's Nuts on the right-hand side there. As they come up at this climb, it is still a pretty tough gradient. And look at the numbers that are coming in here. We've seen 7.3 from Pablo Popovich and co. They are trying to close that gap. They want to get back onto the heels of Mr. X100 before he goes into this next descent. They can see him in front. He's the rider in front of them, but as he rolls over the top, you can just see he's currently lost a lot of time. I think that's going to be tricky for him to stay out there, but we'll see how much bravery he's got to try and stay in the front of the race lead. So here on Sunday Race Club on MyWhoosh, Mr. X100 in the race lead, 38k covered the chasing pack, trying to close him down. The clan team trying to stop them from being able to do so. Vujasin leading the chase behind. That gap has gone right out. It was sitting out in nearly 20 seconds. It's come back down again, and here we go as they start to lap riders out on the course. You can just see all the riders want to be back together. They want to be on the front. Knudsen the first to do so. Immediately behind him coming through, you can just see Popovic is in the mix. Johan Noren in there. Martin Martins, say Safrazad in the mix as well. Knudsen in there. Jason Osborne, Ollie Jones, who's got the power on that final climb. We don't hit the base of that climb proper until 42.6k covered. That is only going to be 2.4k to the finish. Going to be a tough one here today for the riders. I think it's going to come down to that final climb. That group got whittled down from 96, in fact, just over 100 starters, with 134 taking. Signing up to a ride right the way down to 30, then down to 25, and then down to 13. And it's been these 13 riders who really have been all together at this stage. And there's nothing to choose between them as they come in and around. We're about to hit that 5k to go marker. Question will be who has got something left to really rip it up in those last 5k, who can open that gap up and start to stretch the race out, who's going to be left wanting, feeling the pressure as they come in and through. But this group pretty much all together, our leaders together. Who's going to be the first to blink, who's going to be the first to push on? Not long to find out. So just taking a little bit of a look back at our second category rider, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Christian Maglio, another regular up at the top spot in category 2. The Team Italy rider currently stretching his legs. He has dropped Gakes by the look of it, and Tiselius. Really interesting battle here, because I think this is going to be very, very telling. Team Italy B rider Maglio out of the saddle and pushing hard. Tiselius, Gates, both a distance further behind. I don't think he can get across that gap to the leaders. That's a bit too much of an ask. But at the moment, certainly looking good, certainly looking like he's got plenty of power. Will he be able to close down on these riders who are now starting to think about that finish? We are about to hit that 40k. In fact, there we go. 40 kilometers covered, 5k to go. 2.4 of which is the climb, the fourth category climb. But of that 2.4, it is just under 2k that's uphill. The rest is downhill, and that means it's a really steep proposition when you're not gone over the top and you're not on that big descent midway through. You're on a steep uphill climbing section where the gradient changes substantially as well. So leaders now over the 40k marker. The chasers behind working hard, and looks to me like Maglio just being chased a little bit here as we just rode in there with Cross, but the front of the racing with Mr. X100, Jan Noran in there. We've got to line up with Jason Osborne, Pablo Popovic, Michael Fink in the mix. Say Safrazad SS. We've got a real mix of characters here at the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. At the moment, 40.8k covered. We're into our last 5k. So another attack now. This looks like it's Knudsen who's going on the offensive. You can see on your screens at the moment that course profile we've already covered a lot of distance. We're into our last 5Ks, last 4Ks in fact. Here today, it's 2.4K from the start of the official climb, the fourth category climb that takes us to the finish. That's 108 meters of ascent on its own, but it is all going to add up as our riders make the way in there. This is definitely not a course for the faint-hearted. You can't sit there and just pedal around on the flat. It is a very hilly indeed now. Mr. X100 pushes on. Looks to open up a gap once again. Looks like he's starting to do so. So here we go, Mr. X100 in the race lead in Category 1. In Category 2, you can just see Maglio still continuing to push on, but he's got a lot of ground to make if he wants to be anywhere near the front here. The chase is behind right-hand side of your screen here. The leader is Mr. X100 on the left-hand side of your screen. We're riding in with Popovich, the teammate of Mr. X100 at the moment. On the right, Mr. X100 on the left. We've gone past that 42k marker, so less than 3,000 meters left to go. This is going to be that mountaintop finish, the hill finish, the fourth category climb that takes our riders in. And anything that has that 17% marker coming out of it is definitely not for the faint-hearted here on MyWhoosh. At the moment, it's Mr. X100 who's going to hit those steep sections first. He currently has the gap. It's 6 seconds back to the chasers behind, but the pressure is out of that chase. You can just see Mr. X100 really rocking on here. 75 revs per minute, 147 beats per minute. 400 plus watts going down as he goes out and away. Meanwhile, right-hand side, it's not strung out in one long line. The riders are all over the road, yo-yoing about, letting people go off the back and come back in again. Dangerous tactic. We are now at 42.8, nearly 42.9k. Mr. X100 making his way in, just starting to overtake more and more people here on the Australian Wollongong circuit here on MyWhoosh. At the moment, Mr. X100 with a clear lead. Now, our screens are showing that as 11 seconds at the moment. Not sure whether that's going to be true, but it certainly looks like it's long enough to be 11 seconds. The question is it too long for everybody else to get back across? Not long to find out here on MyWhoosh on Sunday Race Club. So Mr. X100, left-hand side of your screens, he's at 43.2, 43.1 behind you. You see those chases, the right-hand side of your screen, you can see him behind Mr. X100 here. 10 seconds is the lead. We're on the 10% slope. We're on to that final climb. Remember, we climb up, we drop down, we climb up again. And this is going to take its toll on the riders' legs. They've really got to start pushing now to get across to Mr. X100. They are losing that top spot. It's going to go out of their grasp. We're now at 43.4k. So not too far. And he is going to be starting to believe he can take this. A distance, it looks shorter. It's about 10 seconds on the screen. But don't forget, the moment that they go over the top, that distance will increase because the speed goes up. And that is going to leave the rest of them with a big job to do to close down this man. Mr. X100, the leader of the Sunday Race Club at the moment. So just looking at the chasers' right-hand side here, say Safazad and Pablo Popovich riding around pretty much together, just patrolling the front of the bunch there. They're at 6 seconds. Doesn't sound like much, but you can go a long way in 6 seconds, particularly on some of our descents here on MyWhoosh on that Australian Wollongong circuit. Mr. X100 is on to his next section of this climb. This bit isn't easy either. Let's see how he gets on. He's still got plenty of chasers behind wanting to pull him back. So just seeing the counter-attack come. And looks like Mr. X100 has got company in the shape of Jason Osborne up here. Looks like Noran, Savazad and Co. have closed that gap down as well. But it's Jason Osborne now, 8.7, 9.2 watts per kilo, who's leading this race out. Can Osborne take this away? We are at 44.3k. Johan Noran putting in a good ride here. Fink is as well. Stefan Van Els, Mr. X100, they're all trying to close down our race leader. But at the moment, Osborne, he's making this look a relatively easy 76 revs per minute. Now just running just sub 70. But the most important thing here, look at those watts per kilo. He's matching everybody, whether it's Pavlo Popovic, Mr. X100, Michael, Vink, or Co. There's no problems for Osborne at the moment, who really has started to stretch his legs out here today. Gap opening, it looks like Popovic maybe has done too much. We're at 44.6. We've got 400 meters, less than 400 meters to go to the finish of this race. Mr. X100, I think he's going to be in trouble here. He's off the back. Time is running out to make the difference, to get that catch done. Let's see what happens. Osborne in the race lead at the moment. Is this going to be a return, and a return straight into winning ways? It looks like it's going to be. He's pushing. We can see the yellow gantry up in front, but he can't relax. Saeed Safrazad is coming. Safrazad and Pavlo Popovic are coming. Did Osborne go too soon? He might well have done. We're at 14 watts per kilo from Safrazad, and he could have the timing right here. It's going to be Safrazad who's going to hit the line first. I think he's going to go over the line. He takes victory from Pavlo Popovic in second. Jason Osborne in third place. Knudson's going to come through in fourth. Vujasin is going to be in fifth. Vink in sixth place. I think it's going to be Knudsen in seventh. Van East in eighth. We're going to get those results confirmed. Remember, these are live as we come in and through the line. What a finish of that climb. Really tough stuff for our riders to come through here on Sunday Race Club. A great first race here at Wollongong. But can these riders really make this count? As it comes through, Mr. X100 comes in after having been so strong for so long, as he comes in and through the line here today. So some great riding there. Saeed Safrazad taking the race victory here today on MyWhoosh. A great ride by him. Martins continues to push you. We've still got SS out in the distance here today, and certainly looks like they're going to have to push the Danish Pavlova squad. Well, they're going to take that team title from UAE Clan Team. So Safrazad in 1, Popovic in 2, Osborne in 3, Knudsen in 4. Vujasin in 5, Vink in 6. Then in 7th is Van Eest with Noren in 8th place, Mr. X100 in 9th, Ollie Jones in 10th. Then it's going to be Martin Martins coming through in 11th position at the moment. And I've got to say, some brutal riding out on the course. 11 riders in and through the line at the moment. I think it's going to be a 12th place for SS. And in terms of teams, well, Safrazad and Popovic, they are the 1-2 as they came in through the line, reversing the positions that we saw them take individually last time. They couldn't quite make it the team prize today, with Pavlova's Osborne and Knudsen taking 3rd and 4th place respectively. Then it was Vujasin from Belgian Waffles. Then Vink came in to round out the Pavlova squad. They're going to take our second team competition. Then it's going to be the Waffle squad. So really interesting to see. Pavlovas, they take top spot in the team competition. The riders continue to push in. 1 hour, 8 minutes and 2 seconds for our leader to come in and through the line. But when you look at that, you can just see the riders are blasted all the way out and around the side of the course. Don't forget, you can catch up with the full race results as well as what's on your screen here on MyWhoosh.com. Don't forget to give me, as Matt Fixpain, a follow as well, of course, as all the gang on MyWhoosh. It's MyWhoosh on Facebook, on Instagram, and my_whoosh on Twitter. Great race here on the men's competition. We're going to be back very shortly with our women's competition, and that is qualifier number 1. So from me, Matt Payne, from all the team at MyWhoosh, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, jump on and follow us on social media, and we will catch you very shortly for the women's race. Qualifier race number 1, a great men's race. We're on to the women's next. We'll see you soon.